The old piano sat in the corner like a forgotten friend. Michael watched the little girl's trembling fingers hover over the keys, and for the first time in 3 years, something stirred in his chest, something he thought had died with Tracy. But what he was about to discover would shake him to his very core. Before we continue, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Michael Reed was 42 years old, with gray scattered through his dark hair like ash on coal. His hands were strong and rough now, marked by carpenter's work rather than piano keys. 3 years had passed since he last played music. 3 years since the night Tracy closed her eyes for the final time in their small bedroom, her hand growing cold in his. Before that terrible night, music had been his blood. He played in bars, weddings, small concert halls. Nothing grand, nothing that made him rich, but every note he touched carried joy. Tracy would sit in the front row, even after 12 years of marriage, watching him with those bright green eyes that made him feel like he could paint the world with sound. They had no children. Tracy's illness came too soon, too fast. The doctors said words like aggressive and months, not years. And Michael learned how silence could be louder than any symphony. After she passed, he sold his piano. The sight of it brought pain that cut through his ribs. He took up carpentry, working with wood instead of music, building things he could see and touch, things that could not betray him with memories. His daughter Zoe, now 16, barely remembered the music. She had been 13 when her mother died, and in the years since, she had become quiet like him. They lived together in a rhythm of careful silence, speaking in short sentences, moving around each other like dancers who had forgotten the steps. Michael worked hard. His hands built cabinets, repaired porches, fixed broken things for people who still believed in fixing. The money was enough. Life continued, as life does, with all the color drained from it. Bella Foster stood at the window of her office on the 34th floor, watching the city spread below like a circuit board of lights. She was 39 years old, beautiful in the sharp way successful women often are, with black hair cut precise as a blade, and eyes that calculated faster than most people could speak. She had built her company from nothing, a tech firm that now employed 300 people and generated millions. She wore power like a second skin, made decisions that moved markets, and slept 4 hours a night because time was the only resource she could not buy more of. Her daughter, Alice, was 9 years old. Small for her age, with her mother's dark hair, but gentler eyes that held something ancient and knowing, like she had seen more than a child should see. The doctor said Alice had perhaps 2 years. The tumor in her brain was slow but steady, creeping through the places that made her laugh, that made her remember, that made her Alice. Surgery was too dangerous. Treatment only bought time, never enough time. Bella threw money at the problem like stones at a mountain. The best doctors, the newest trials, hospitals in 3 countries. Nothing changed the basic truth. Her daughter was dying, and all her power meant nothing against it. Alice wanted one thing. She wanted to play piano in the youth competition at the Riverside Theater in 8 weeks. She had started lessons 2 years ago before the diagnosis, and music was the only thing that still made her smile. Her fingers were clumsy, her timing poor, but when she played, something lit up inside her that the tumor had not yet touched. Bella hired the best piano teacher in the city. The woman lasted 3 weeks before quitting, saying gently that Alice needed more than technical instruction. She needed someone who understood what music meant beyond the notes. "Find someone who plays with their heart," the teacher said. "Find someone who has lost something. They will know how to reach her." Bella did not usually handle small matters herself, but this was not a small matter. This was her daughter. And time was running out like sand through her fingers. She found Michael through a friend of a friend, Someone who remembered a carpenter who used to play piano. Someone who had given up music after his wife died. Bella made calls, pulled strings, discovered Michael Reed worked in her neighborhood, had a daughter in high school, lived carefully on the edge of getting by. She found him on a Thursday afternoon, repairing a deck 3 streets from her house. He was on his knees, measuring wood, his hand steady and sure. When she spoke his name, he looked up with eyes that were gray and tired. "Mr. Reed, my name is Bella Foster. I need to hire you." "I'm booked for 3 weeks, Michael said. He did not recognize her, did not know her face from magazines or news sites. He lived outside that world. "Not for carpentry," Bella said. "I need you to teach my daughter piano." Michael stood slowly. He was tall, taller than Bella, with shoulders that carpenter work had kept strong. "I don't teach piano." "You used to play. That was a long time ago. My daughter has a competition in 8 weeks. She needs a teacher who understands more than technique." Bella's voice stayed level, but something in it pressed hard. "I will pay you $5,000. Michael wiped sawdust from his hands. $5,000. That was 3 months of work. That was Zoe's college fund growing. That was security. But his chest felt tight at the thought of sitting at a piano again, of hearing music fill a room, of remembering what he had lost. "I can't," he said. 10,000. "It's not about money." Bella stepped closer. She was used to negotiating, used to finding the pressure point. "My daughter is dying. The doctors give her 2 years, maybe less. She wants to play in this competition before—" Bella stopped. Even she could not say those words out loud. "She needs someone who knows what it means to lose everything. She needs you." Michael felt something crack inside his chest. He looked at Bella Foster, this woman with power and money and desperation in her eyes, and he saw Tracy in that hospital bed, asking for just 1 more day. "When do I start?" he said. But he did not know yet what teaching this child would cost him, or what it would give back. Michael arrived at Bella's house the following Tuesday. The building was not a house, but a statement. All glass and steel, rising like a sharp tooth on the hill. Inside, everything was white and clean and expensive. Michael felt out of place in his work boots and old jacket. Bella led him to a room on the 2nd floor. The piano sat by tall windows, black and gleaming, more beautiful than any instrument Michael had ever owned. Beside it, in a chair too large for her, sat a little girl. Alice Foster was small and pale, with dark hair cut short. So short, Michael suspected it had been longer once. She wore a yellow dress that hung loose on her frame. Her eyes were the thing that struck him. They were old eyes in a young face, eyes that had seen pain and learned to carry it quietly. "Alice, this is Mr. Reed," Bella said. "He's going to help you with piano." The girl said nothing. She looked at Michael with those ancient eyes, measuring him, and he felt suddenly exposed, like she could see all the broken pieces he tried to hide. Bella touched her daughter's shoulder gently, then left. The door closed with a soft click. Michael and Alice sat in silence. Finally, Michael pulled a chair beside the piano bench. "Your mother says you want to play in a competition," Alice nodded. "What piece are you preparing?" "Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata." Her voice was quiet, barely above a whisper. "The first movement." Michael felt his throat tighten. Tracy had loved that piece. She would hum it while cooking dinner, while folding laundry, while lying in bed at night. The memory cut sharp. "Show me what you can do," he said. Alice turned to the piano. Her fingers found the keys, and she began to play. The notes came out mechanical, precise, but empty. She knew where to put her fingers, knew the rhythm, but the music held no life. It was like watching someone recite words without knowing their meaning. Michael listened. He had not heard music in 3 years, and even this hollow version of it stirred something painful in his chest. When Alice finished, she looked at him with hope and fear mixed together in her face. "You play correctly," Michael said carefully. "But you don't play with feeling." "I don't know what that means," Alice whispered. Michael understood then what the previous teacher had meant. This child was facing death, was watching her own life slip away, and she played music like she was reading from a book. She needed to learn what he had spent 3 years trying to forget. That music was not notes on paper, but the sound of the human heart breaking and healing and breaking again. "We have 8 weeks," Michael said. "I'll teach you." The lessons followed a pattern. 3 times a week, Michael came to the White House on the hill. He sat beside Alice at the piano and tried to teach her what couldn't be taught with words. The first week was scales and timing. Alice's fingers were weak, her coordination poor. The tumor affected her fine motor control, made her stumble over passages that should have been simple. Michael was patient. He showed her how to hold her wrists, how to let weight fall through her fingers, how to breathe with the music. But patience was not enough. The notes remained notes, mathematical and cold. In the second week, Michael tried to explain feeling. "Music is not about playing the right notes," he said. "It's about what the notes make people feel." "But how do you make them feel?" Alice asked. Michael did not know how to answer. "How did you explain color to someone who had never seen? How did you describe the taste of water to someone who had never been thirsty?" At home, Zoe noticed her father's struggle. She watched him sit at their kitchen table, staring at his rough hands like they belonged to someone else. "Why did you take this job?" Zoe asked one night. "We need the money," Michael said. "We always need money. But you haven't touched a piano in 3 years." Michael looked at his daughter. She had Tracy's eyes, that same green that used to watch him play. "The girl is dying. Her mother asked for help." Zoe was quiet for a moment. Then, "Mom would want you to help her." The words hit Michael like a fist. Yes, Tracy would have wanted him to help. Tracy, who believed music could heal anything. Who played for sick children at the hospital during her nursing shifts. Who sang even when the cancer ate away her voice. But Tracy was dead, and music had not saved her, and Michael did not know if he had anything left to give this dying child. Bella Foster did not sit in on the lessons. She worked in her home office, making calls, running her empire, pretending she could control something in a world that was taking her daughter away. But she listened. Through the walls, she heard the piano, halting, imperfect, but present. And she heard Michael's voice, low and patient, guiding Alice through each measure. One evening after a lesson, Bella caught Michael in the hallway. "Can I speak with you?" They sat in her kitchen, all marble and steel. Bella poured coffee with hands that shook slightly, the only crack in her armor. "How is she doing?" Bella asked. "She's learning," Michael said. It was not a lie, but it was not the truth either. Bella looked at him with sharp eyes. "Don't lie to me, Mr. Reed. I pay people to lie to me all day. I pay you to tell the truth." Michael set down his cup. "She plays the notes correctly, but she doesn't understand what they mean. She's too young, or too sick, or I don't know. But if she plays like this in the competition, she won't place." "I don't care if she places," Bella said, and her voice cracked like ice breaking. "I just want her to have this one thing before—" She stopped, pressed her fingers to her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was steel once more. "Teach her to love it. That's all. Teach her to love the music before she runs out of time." Michael felt something twist in his chest. This woman, with all her power and money, could not save her daughter. She could only try to fill the days that remained with something beautiful. It was the same thing he had tried to do with Tracy, filling hospital rooms with flowers, reading her favorite books, holding her hand until the very end, as if love could be enough to hold back death. "I'll try," Michael said. But he did not yet know the truth about Alice. the secret that Bella kept locked tight, the reason the child played music like someone saying goodbye. By the 4th week, Michael was running out of ideas. Alice practiced diligently, improved her technique, but the music remained lifeless. She played like a machine, hitting each note with precision, but no soul. Michael tried everything he knew. He told her to imagine stories while playing, a princess in a castle, a bird learning to fly, anything to spark emotion. Alice nodded and tried, but the music did not change. He tried to explain dynamics, how a single note could be soft as breath or loud as thunder. Alice understood intellectually, could point to the markings on the page, but when she played, everything came out flat. One afternoon, frustrated, Michael stopped her mid-measure. "Why do you want to play this piece?" Alice's hands fell to her lap. "My mother wants me to." "That's not what I asked. Why do you want to play it?" The girl was quiet for a long time. Outside the window, rain began to fall, tapping against the glass like tiny fingers. Finally, she said, "I don't know if I want to. I just know I have to do something before I can't do anything anymore." The honesty in her voice was brutal. Michael felt his chest tighten. This child was 9 years old and already understood her death was coming. She was preparing her own goodbye, and she did not even know how to make it beautiful. "There's something you need to understand about music," Michael said slowly. "It's not about the notes on the page. It's about pain and joy and all the messy human stuff in between. You can't play Beethoven without understanding loss." "I'm losing everything," Alice said simply. "Isn't that enough?" Michael looked at this small, dying girl and realized his mistake. She understood loss. She lived with it every single day, felt it in her weak fingers, saw it in her mother's careful smiles, knew it in the way people looked at her with pity and sadness. She understood loss better than most adults ever would. The problem was not that she did not feel. The problem was that she felt too much and had locked it all away to survive. That night, Michael could not sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Alice's old eyes and quiet voice. He thought about how she played music like someone going through motions, completing a task, fulfilling a duty. He thought about himself, how he had stopped playing music after Tracy died because it hurt too much to feel. How he had locked away that part of himself, buried it deep, lived in careful numbness. He and Alice were not so different. Both of them were hiding from pain. Both of them had learned that feeling hurt, and that not feeling was safer. At 2 in the morning, Michael got out of bed. He walked to Zoe's room, knocked softly. She opened the door, groggy and confused. "Dad? What's wrong?" "Do you remember your mother playing piano?" Michael asked. Zoe rubbed her eyes. "Yeah, she wasn't very good, but she loved it." "Do you remember the lullaby she made up, the one she sang to you when you were small?" Something changed in Zoe's face. "I remember. Can you hum it for me?" Zoe looked at her father like he had gone mad, but she hummed it anyway, soft and halting, a simple melody that Tracy had created from nothing, that had no name or written notes, that existed only in memory. Michael felt tears on his face. He had not cried since Tracy's funeral. He had not let himself. But hearing that melody, that piece of his wife that still lived in his daughter's voice, broke something open inside him. "Thank you," he whispered. Zoe hugged him, and they stood there in the doorway, holding each other, remembering the woman who had taught them both that love was worth the pain it caused. The next lesson, Michael arrived with something different. He did not make Alice play scales. He did not open the Beethoven score. Instead, he sat at the piano himself. "I haven't played in 3 years," he told Alice. "Not since my wife died." Alice watched him with those old eyes. Michael put his fingers on the keys. They felt foreign and familiar at the same time, like shaking hands with a ghost. He began to play. Not Beethoven, not anything written, but the lullaby Tracy had made up for Zoe, the melody that existed nowhere but in memory and love. The notes were rough at first, clumsy from lack of practice, but as he played, something opened in his chest. The music came through him, and it carried everything he had tried to forget. Tracy's laugh, her hand in his, the hospital room, the funeral, the long, empty years after. When he finished, he was crying. He did not try to hide it. Alice stared at him. "That was sad," she whispered. "Yes," Michael said. "But it was also beautiful. That's what music is. It's both things at once." "Will you teach me to play like that?" "I don't know if I can," Michael said honestly, "but I'll try." For the first time, Alice smiled, a real smile that reached her old eyes and made her look young again. But Michael still did not know the truth about Alice Foster, the secret that would change everything he thought he understood about this child and her careful, quiet pain. Week 6 arrived with spring rain. Michael came to the White House on the hill as usual, but Bella met him at the door. Her face was pale, her careful control fractured. "Alice is in the hospital," she said. "She had a seizure last night. She's stable, but—" Bella's voice broke. "They're saying the tumor is growing faster than expected. She might not have 2 years. She might have 6 months. Michael felt the floor tilt beneath him. 6 months. Alice was running out of time faster than any of them had realized. "The competition is in 2 weeks, Bella continued. "I don't know if she'll be strong enough to play. But if she is, if she wants to try, will you still help her?" "Of course," Michael said. 3 days later, Alice came home from the hospital. She was weaker, more tired, her skin paper-thin and pale. But she insisted on her lesson. Michael sat beside her at the piano. "We don't have to do this," he said gently. "I want to," Alice said. Her voice was barely a whisper now, but it held steel underneath, her mother's determination in a small, fragile package. They practiced. Alice's fingers stumbled more than before. The tumor was affecting her coordination, making simple passages nearly impossible. But she pushed through, stubborn and brave. At the end of the lesson, as Michael was packing his things, Alice spoke suddenly. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." "I know my mother thinks I want to play in this competition for me," Alice said. "But that's not true." Michael stopped. He looked at the small girl in the too large chair. "I want to play for her," Alice continued. "My mother gave up everything for me. She sold her company. Well, most of it. She stopped traveling. She stays home now, pretends she's working. But really she's just waiting for me to die." Alice's voice stayed steady, factual, like she was reciting math problems. "She thinks I don't know, but I do. I hear her crying at night. I see how she looks at me when she thinks I'm not watching." Michael felt his throat close. "She used to play piano when I was little," Alice said. "Before I got sick. She wasn't good, but she loved it. She gave it up when I needed her. She gave up everything." Alice looked at Michael with those ancient eyes. "I want to play this piece for her. I want her to have something beautiful to remember me by. So when I'm gone, she won't just remember the hospitals and the sickness. She'll remember music." The truth hit Michael like a wave. This child was not playing for herself. She was not trying to achieve something before she died. She was preparing a gift for her mother, a memory to carry into the years of grief that would follow. She was 9 years old, dying, and she was thinking about someone else's pain instead of her own. Michael understood then why Alice's music had been so empty. She was not playing from her own heart. She was trying to play from her mother's, and she did not know how. "Does your mother know?" Michael asked quietly. "No. And you can't tell her. Promise me." Michael looked at this small, brave girl and felt something crack open in his chest. the same thing that had cracked when he played Tracy's lullaby, when he let himself feel music again after 3 years of numbness. "I promise," he said. "But Alice, you need to understand something. If you want this music to be a gift for your mother, you have to put your own heart into it. You have to play what you feel, not what you think she wants to hear. You have to be brave enough to let the music hurt." Alice's eyes filled with tears, the first tears Michael had seen from her. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I'm scared of dying. I'm scared of leaving my mother alone. I'm scared that I'm not brave enough." "Fear is okay," Michael said. "Tracy, my wife, she was terrified at the end. She cried and fought and was angry at the unfairness of it all. But she was also brave, not because she wasn't scared, but because she let herself feel everything, even the fear, even the pain. That's what made her beautiful." Michael sat at the piano. "Let me show you something." He began to play Moonlight Sonata, the piece Alice had been practicing for weeks, but he played it differently now. He played it with everything he had lost and found and lost again. He played it with Tracy's death and Zoe's lullaby and Alice's old eyes. He played it with fear and love and grief and hope all tangled together. When he finished, Alice was crying. So was Michael. And standing in the doorway, unseen by both of them, Bella Foster was crying too. The week before the competition, Alice and Michael practiced every day. Not for hours. She did not have the strength, but for careful, precious minutes. Michael taught her not technique, but truth. He taught her to let her hands shake when the music was sad, to let her breath catch when the notes swelled, to let herself be afraid and brave and human all at once. Alice learned, not quickly, not easily, but deeply. She learned that music was not about perfection, but about honesty. She learned that wrong notes played with feeling were better than right notes played with emptiness. She learned what Michael had forgotten and was remembering, that beauty and pain were the same thing, and that love was worth dying for because love was worth living for. On the night before the competition, Bella knocked on Michael's door. He opened it to find her standing in the rain, mascara running, her armor completely gone. "She told me," Bella said. "She told me why she wants to play. For me. For a memory." Her voice broke. "How did I not see it? How did I not know?" Michael stepped aside, led her into his small house. Zoe made tea while Bella sat at their kitchen table and cried, the way Michael had cried after Tracy died. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place beyond words. "I don't know how to let her go," Bella whispered. "You don't," Michael said. "You hold on until you can't hold on anymore, and then you keep holding on anyway. That's what love is." Bella looked at him with raw, broken eyes. "Does it get easier?" Michael thought of Tracy, of the 3 years he had spent running from his grief, hiding from music, pretending he could live without feeling. "No," he said honestly, "but you learn to carry it. And the love doesn't die. It changes shape, becomes something different. But it stays." Bella left after midnight. Michael stood at his door, watching her drive away, and thought about how grief connected people in ways nothing else could. But the competition was tomorrow, and he still did not know if Alice would be strong enough to play, or if the gift she was preparing for her mother would ever reach its intended audience. The Riverside Theater was old and beautiful, with velvet seats and chandeliers that cast warm light on the stage. 23 children were competing, ranging from age 7 to 12. Most were healthy, practiced, polished. Their parents sat in the audience with proud, expectant faces. Alice was the 19th performer. She sat backstage with Michael, wearing a blue dress her mother had bought for this day. She looked tiny and pale and scared. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. Michael knelt beside her. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. What if I mess up? Then you mess up. But you do it bravely. Bella found them before Alice's turn. She hugged her daughter carefully, like she was made of glass. I'm so proud of you, she said. No matter what happens out there, I'm proud. Alice looked at her mother with those old eyes. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby, so much. The 18th performer finished. There was applause. Then the announcer called Alice's name. Michael walked her to the stage entrance. Remember, he said, play with your heart, not your hands. Alice nodded. She walked onto the stage, small and alone under the bright lights. The piano waited, black and imposing. She climbed onto the bench, adjusted her position, looked out at the audience where her mother sat in the third row, face pale and hopeful. Alice put her fingers on the keys. She closed her eyes, and she began to play. The first notes of Moonlight Sonata filled the theater, soft, haunting, like moonlight on water. Alice's fingers moved across the keys, not perfectly, not technically flawless, but with something that perfection could never capture. She played like a child who knew she was dying. She played like a daughter who loved her mother more than life. She played like someone saying goodbye and hello at the same time. The notes stumbled sometimes. Her weak fingers missed passages, slipped on runs, faltered in places where a healthy child would have soared. But it did not matter. The mistakes were part of the truth, part of the heartbreak, part of the gift she was giving. In the audience, Bella Foster sat frozen. She watched her small daughter play music that should have been beyond her, music filled with adult grief and childlike hope tangled together. And she understood, finally, what her daughter was trying to say. I love you. I'm scared. I'm brave. I'm sorry I have to leave you. Thank you for being my mother. I will always be with you, in this music, in this memory, in this moment, that will never die, even when I do. Michael stood at the side of the stage, watching. Tears ran down his face freely. He thought about Tracy, about the lullaby she had made up, about how love never really ended, but just changed form and kept living in different ways. Alice played the final notes. The music faded into silence. For a moment, no one moved. The theater held its breath. Then Bella started clapping. She stood, tears streaming down her face, and applauded her daughter. The rest of the audience joined her, rising to their feet, filling the theater with sound that was like music itself, human and messy and beautiful. Alice looked out at her mother. She was crying too, but she was smiling, a real smile that made her look young and alive and free. She had given her gift. She had played her goodbye, and it had been enough. Alice Foster died on a Tuesday morning in November, with her mother holding her hand, and autumn rain falling soft against the window. She slipped away peacefully, Michael was told later, with no pain at the end, just a gentle letting go, like breath on wind. Michael went to the funeral. So did Zoe. They sat in the back of the church and listened to people talk about the little girl who had been brave and kind and wise beyond her years. Bella spoke, though her voice broke and she could barely finish. She thanked everyone for coming. She said her daughter had taught her that love was stronger than death, and that some memories could carry you through any darkness. After the service, Bella found Michael outside. She looked smaller somehow, like grief had pressed her down. Thank you, she said simply. For what? For teaching her to say goodbye, for giving her a way to tell me she loved me, for making it beautiful instead of just sad. Bella's voice cracked. I watch the recording of the competition every night. I hear her playing, and I remember that she was here, that she was real, that she loved me enough to give me this gift. Michael nodded. He understood. He still had recordings of Tracy singing, and he listened to them sometimes when the grief felt too heavy. They hurt, but they also helped. "Will you keep teaching?" Bella asked. "Music, I mean. Will you play again?" Michael looked at this woman who had lost everything and was still standing. He thought about Alice's old eyes and brave heart. He thought about Tracy's lullaby and how Zoe had carried it forward. He thought about how pain and beauty were the same thing, and how music was the sound of the human heart refusing to break completely. "Yes," he said. "I think I will." That night, Michael sat at a piano for the first time in his own home, a small, used upright that Zoe had found at a thrift store and bought with money she had been saving for a car. "I thought you might want it back," she said. "The music, I mean." Michael sat on the bench. His fingers found the keys. He played Tracy's lullaby, the one Zoe had hummed, the one that existed nowhere but in their memories and love. The notes filled their small house, spilled out the windows, drifted into the autumn night. Zoe sat beside him and hummed along, and Michael remembered what Alice had taught him, that saying goodbye was also a way of holding on. That grief was love with nowhere to go, and that music could carry the dead forward into the living world. He played through the pain. He played through the tears. He played like someone who had lost everything and found it again in a different form. He played like a man who finally understood that beauty was worth the cost, and that love never really ended at all. Outside, the rain fell soft and steady, like the world itself was keeping time. And in that small house on the edge of town, music lived again, imperfect, honest, and utterly human. If this story touched something in you, hit that like button and share it with someone you want to hear with. Subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss another story.